This is The Promise, a prequel to The Pieces of Pebbleton Grove by Morgan South, a grumpy sunshine, heartfelt romance. The car seat clicked into its base on the third try. Grant straightened, rubbing the back of his neck, where tension had built into a permanent knot over the past 48 hours. Sarah was watching from the wheelchair the hospital insisted upon. Maisie bundled in her arms. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes, but she was beaming at him like he'd scaled a mountain. "You did it," she said. "Third time's the charm." He crouched beside her, adjusting the blanket around Maisie's face. She was sleeping, as she had been for most of the past 2 days. Her features scrunched and red from the business of being born. A dusting of golden brown fuzz covered her head. "Ready?" The nurse appeared behind them, hands on the wheelchair handles. Sarah looked up at Grant. He looked at her. Neither of them was ready. "Yes," they said, together. The drive home took 40 minutes. Grant kept the speedometer at exactly 5 miles below the limit, checking the rearview mirror so often that Sarah reached over and put her hand on his thigh. "She's still there, still breathing." "I know." "Then stop checking every 3 seconds. You're making me nervous." "Thought nothing made you nervous." "I was wrong." She squeezed his leg, grinning. "Turns out this is the thing." The October trees were turning along Route 29, sugar maples blazing orange against the gray afternoon sky. Grant had driven this road 1,000 times, memorized every curve and dip, but today it felt new, precious, like the world had shifted on its axis, and nothing would look the same again. Sarah hummed low and wordless beside him, more vibration than tune, and he wondered if she even knew she was doing it. "What song is that?" "Made it up." "You made it up?" "My mother used to hum when I was little. They weren't songs, not properly. They were frequencies." She turned to look at the car seat behind her, hand still warm on his leg. "My daughter has 10 fingers." Counted. "And 10 toes." Also counted. "And the tiniest fingernails I've ever seen, like little shells." She laughed, the sound catching in her throat. "We made a person, Grant, a whole entire person." He reached down and covered her hand with his, and they drove like that for a mile, the October light falling through the windshield in golden stripes, the leaves brilliant against the gray sky. Sarah watched the trees blur past, and he could see her processing this new reality, the way she always did when something big happened. Quiet at first, then questions. "What if we're terrible at this?" "Likely." She laughed again, louder this time, head thrown back against the headrest, and he thought about how he'd marry her all over again for that laugh alone. Their house came into view, white clapboard with green shutters, smoke rising from the chimney. "Edith's been here," Sarah said. "She has a key." "She has 17 keys, to everything. I'm convinced she has keys to places that don't exist yet." Grant pulled into the drive. The front door opened before he'd turned off the engine, and Edith appeared on the porch wrapped in her cardigan, one hand pressed to her mouth as she peered through the back window at the car seat. She came down the steps carefully, like approaching something sacred. "She's so small," Edith breathed. "Oh, Grant. Sarah. She's so small." 7 pounds, 4 ounces, Sarah said. "The nurse said that's a good size." "She's perfect." Edith pulled open the back door and stood there, not touching, like she needed permission from someone other than them, from the universe maybe. "May I?" Sarah nodded. Edith unbuckled the car seat with the efficiency of someone who had done this before, long ago, and lifted Maisie into her arms. She held the baby against her chest and closed her eyes. "Hello, little one," she murmured. Hello, Maisie Rose. The house smelled like Edith's beef stew, rich and warm, filling every room. Mrs. Huang arrived with tea and pastries, and when she held Maisie, her face did something Grant had never seen before, all the sharp edges of her melting into something gentle. "Look at this hair," she said. "Golden brown, like honey." "She's beautiful," Sarah said, already eating cream puffs while Edith swayed with the baby, humming that same wordless tune from the car. "You did good," Mrs. Huang said. "Both of you." The first night was endless. Maisie woke at 11, then at 1, then at 2:30, at 3:15, at 4:47. Each cry pulled Grant from sleep, and he would find Sarah already sitting up beside him, arms reaching before she was fully awake, hands fumbling for the baby in the dark, her movements getting slower and less coordinated as the hours wore on. By 5 in the morning, she was moving like she was underwater. He took Maisie from her arms. "Sleep," he said. "She's hungry. Then feed her and sleep. That's the plan." Sarah yawned so wide her jaw cracked. "The plan is definitely sleep." She fed Maisie while leaning against Grant's shoulder, her weight warm and heavy against him, and by the time the baby finished, Sarah was asleep too, her breath slow and even against his neck. He sat there holding both of them while dawn crept through the curtains, gray light filling the room inch by inch, and thought about how this was his family now, his wife, his daughter, his life. He'd never been happier. By day 3, Grant had created a spreadsheet, feeding times in column A, duration in column B, diaper changes in column C, sleep windows in column D. He'd color-coded it, added formulas to calculate patterns. Sarah found him at the kitchen table at 2 in the morning, laptop open, eyes fixed on the screen with the kind of focus he usually reserved for contract negotiations. "What are you doing?" "Optimizing." "Optimizing what?" "Her schedule. If I can identify the pattern, I can predict when she'll wake up. Create a system." Sarah looked at the spreadsheet, then at Maisie asleep in the bassinet beside him, then back at Grant. Her lips were pressed together. He couldn't tell if she was trying not to laugh or cry. "How's that working out?" She woke up 17 minutes early, 3 times. "So your system doesn't work." He closed the laptop. "She doesn't follow patterns. She's 3 days old and she's already ignoring my spreadsheets." Sarah sat down beside him. "You made a spreadsheet for our newborn." It seemed logical at the time. "Grant, I know." He rubbed his face, stubble rough under his palms. "I can't organize this. Can't control it. Can't make it make sense." "No," Sarah said, "you can't." He looked at Maisie in her bassinet. 7 pounds of defiance refusing to cooperate with his color-coded system. "Good," Sarah said, reaching over to close the laptop completely. "That's exactly right." The 3rd week, Sarah cried at a commercial. It was nothing, really, just a car commercial with a family driving through autumn leaves, music swelling in the background, the baby in the back seat no older than Maisie. But Sarah's face crumpled and tears started streaming down her cheeks even while she was laughing. "The leaves are so pretty," she said. "I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous." Grant sat beside her on the couch and waited. Let her have it, whatever it was. "There was a dog," she said. "Did you see the dog? It had floppy ears." "Golden retriever?" "The floppiest ears." She wiped her face with the back of her hand, still laughing. "Hormones are wild, Grant. Absolutely wild. I feel like I could cry at a stop sign right now. A traffic light. The mailman. Want me to change the channel?" "No, yes, I don't know." She leaned against him, her head finding his shoulder the way it always did. "I'm so happy. That's the crazy thing. I'm so happy I'm crying at car commercials. Through the baby monitor on the coffee table, Maisie was making the soft snuffling noises that meant she'd be waking soon. She's stirring, Sarah said, already standing. I've got her. She came back with the baby and settled on the couch beside him, Maisie nursing with her eyes closed, making those tiny, satisfied sounds that meant everything in her world was exactly right. This is everything I ever wanted, Sarah said quietly, like she was telling him a secret. You know that, right? This house, this baby, you, it's everything. Grant leaned forward and kissed her forehead. Same, he said. She laughed. Eloquent as always. I'm a man of few words. Same isn't even a sentence, Grant. It's barely a syllable. But she was smiling when she said it, leaning into him. She looked down at Maisie, lamplight catching in her hair. She's perfect. Everything about this. I keep waiting to wake up and find out I dreamed it. A few weeks later, Grant found Sarah in the nursery. She was sitting in the rocking chair with Maisie asleep against her shoulder, and the whole room smelled like baby powder and the lavender sachets Victoria had brought from Richmond. Everything was perfect. The crib with its white sheets, the bookshelf organized by color, the changing table stocked with diapers in neat rows, Grant's work, all of it, his attempt at creating order for their daughter. She's been out for an hour, Sarah whispered when he came in. I'm afraid to put her down. Grant crossed the room and knelt beside the chair. Maisie's face was turned toward him, her cheeks pink with sleep, her golden brown hair sticking up in tufts that reminded him of Sarah's hair in the morning. She's dreaming, he said. About what, do you think? Milk. Sarah smiled, and her eyes tracked around the pristine nursery, taking in all the careful organization he'd spent weeks perfecting. I hope she messes all this up. I hope she's the kind of girl who leaves sticky fingerprints on everything, who colors on the walls and leaves toys everywhere and makes this perfect room look lived in. You want her to destroy my organization system. I want her to live, Grant, make messes, be joyful and chaotic and exactly herself. She ran her fingers through Maisie's fine hair, the gesture infinitely gentle. I want to keep it good for her. I want her life to be happy. It will be. Sarah looked at him then, and tears were welling in her eyes, pooling at the lower lids. Promise? Promise. She leaned down and kissed him, her lips warm, tasting faintly of the tea she'd had with dinner, and when she pulled back, she whispered, I love you, both of you, more than I knew was possible. The rocking chair creaked softly as Sarah swayed. Grant stayed kneeling beside them, his hand on Sarah's knee, watching his daughter sleep. Through the window, November light fell across the floor, thick as honey, the same quality of light that had filled the car on the drive home from the hospital. He wanted to hold this moment, freeze it, keep them exactly like this forever. But already the light was fading, afternoon slipping into dusk, shadows lengthening across the nursery floor.